So I asked AI to give me the top 8 reasons that service industry businesses fail, and this was specifically to lawn care. So before I start, there's 2 things that have kind of helped me whenever I'm going through hard times or going through mainly like decision making processes and kind of just having a good decision making framework. So the first one is imagine if it happened 1,000 times more. So imagine if an employee walked off the job. Imagine if a customer leaves a bad review. Imagine if you run out of money. So just imagine the bad things that happen in business and imagine if they happened 1,000 times more. You'd figure out a way to solve it. For instance, an employee walks off the job, you figure out a way to get employees quicker, you figure out a way to train them better, to make your services simpler. And so if you imagine that it just happened 1,000 times more, you would solve the problem a lot quicker because you can expect it to happen a lot more. The second thing that has helped me a lot is if I was a robot, what would I do? So remove the emotion out of it. And so say you get a bad review from a customer. You know you did a great job. You know you've done an amazing service to them. Imagine if a robot was just reading the information. So one thing that I've started doing whenever a customer either leaves a bad review, sends us a message, has a complaint, I have AI send them the response. You can go to ChatGPT and just type in what the customer said. And I just say, generate a response for this. And it'll normally type out about 5 paragraphs. You can say to make it shorter, you can say to make it longer, depending on if it's an email or a text. Every single customer that I've sent that to has been genuinely happy and very satisfied with the service after I've sent them that message, just because the AI has a good way of laying it out in a way where it doesn't have my emotions in it. Instead, it's just looking at it from a level ground and a level basis. And so a lot of times we'll offer a refund, we'll offer to come back and fix it. And so even if the customer is doing us a disservice or almost like cheating us out of money, it still makes them happy. And every single time the customer said, you know what, forget about it. I'm happy with the service. I'll keep you. Don't even worry about the refund. So getting into the top 8 reasons why ChatGPT said that service businesses fail. The first one is fixing season lawn care seasonality. So lawn care seasonality is a big issue in lawn care according to ChatGPT. The next one is weather changes. Then we have equipment breakdowns. So like if your equipment breaks down midday, I'm assuming. Then we have employee turnover, marketing and acquisition, pricing and profit margins, safety and legal, and then cash flow management. So just starting up here at the top, there's lawn care seasonality. What we've done in our business to fix lawn care seasonality, we swapped over to the subscriptions where we charge monthly. And so in order to fix this, you can't just, a lot of people will have contract-based billing is what they kind of call it. And so what happens is during the summer, they'll charge a lower fee, and during the winter, it'll be higher than what it's worth. So you kind of have this offset. It's up here, and you're charging in the middle. What happens is you service it up here. When it gets to winter, it should be down here, and you're making extra profit. The customer just drops off. So you always have this high profit margin, and it costs more to onboard somebody. So you have this high cost, low profit margin, and then you have a higher cost, lower profit margin, higher cost, lower profit margin. So every year this just resets, and you never have that high profit margin down there at the bottom during the winter. What we've done to kind of try to counteract this, add in some winter services. So when you're selling your package, for instance, with us, we have debris cleanup and leaf bagging during the winter. We have a lot of leaves fall down here. So instead of paying $300 at the end of the season, of the winter season for a leaf cleanup, instead we say, hey, it's $99 a month. We're gonna come every single week, make sure that the leaves are picked up, make sure that the driveway's blown off, everything's gonna stay looking amazing all year long. And then this keeps the customer from having to worry about calling us and paying an arm and a leg to get everything cleaned up. It also allows us to be able to very predictively lay out our schedule so that we don't have an influx in 1 month of 500 leaf cleanups that we're doing, and then the rest of the months we're all just sitting around looking at each other, twiddling our thumbs. So some things that you can try offering: we do leaf and debris cleanup. You can do snow shoveling. It can be one of your winter services that you offer basically in place of mowing or combined with mowing. You can offer snow shoveling. You can offer landscape bed maintenance. So basically saying, end of the year we're going to install straw for you. We're going to come and trim the shrubs like a month after the straw maybe, or a month before the straw. We're going to come and pull out any weeds and basically prep their landscape beds for winter. So if they cancel before that service, they miss out on all that. And then if they cancel before, they also miss out on the springtime cleanup. So you can do one in winter, one in spring. Another thing that you can do is winterizing the property. That's the last one that I have on my list. And so basically winterizing the property would be like sprinklers, faucets. So they sell these little plastic covers that are like $2 at the store. And so you could tell the customer, hey, we're gonna make sure that your faucets don't freeze and crack. So you can go put those covers on the faucets. You can go around and drain all the sprinkler systems so their sprinkler lines don't bust. You can go around and kind of pick up all the debris, make sure everything's cleaned up for the winter, and you can do that all winter long. So you can kind of flush out their system, and then in spring you can flush out the irrigation system, make sure all the pipes are all running good, fix any leaks, things like that. And so, oh, I do have one more. You can do Christmas lights. So beginning of the winter season, you can say, hey, if you want to stick with us through the rest of the winter season, we would be more than happy to service your property. In fact, we're going to give you a Christmas light package for free. So that could be a $50 plug-in Frosty that you just stick out by the front door just to remind them of you. Because you think if the customer walks in and out of that front door each day, they're going to think of your company 4 times a day until they forget about the Frosty and feel like they own it. But you can put Frosty, Santa, whatever. You can put reindeer outside, you can put lights on the roof, but anything to keep the customer wanting to use you and having a reason to use you during the winter. It's like for us, if someone's gonna cancel during the winter, their price is gonna be a lot more during the summer. And so over the first 3 months, they're gonna pay for that full winter and then they're gonna continue to pay that higher price. Whereas we normally have a $99 Mo price for the entire month, it might be $125, $149, $179, like an extreme amount of price that they would increase just because they wanted to cancel during the winter, and they're actually missing out on service. So it's kind of an easier sell if you do it that way. So you don't want to only punish, like you want to reward for them sticking with you through it, but then also you want to have some sort of a, well, you don't want the reward, it costs us more to onboard you, so it's going to be a little higher just because we've had price increases. So the second one on the list is weather changes. My first advice to you, don't stress it. You can't control the weather. I've sat down way too many days just sitting there looking at the radar freaking out because I can't get everything done. If it rains, you can't control it. Sit down, relax, enjoy the rainy time. My second tip, work in the rain. So for sod, for cleanups, pine straw, all these things can all be done in the rain. A lot of people take off during the rain. A lot of people work in the rain. Everybody kind of has a different opinion. My opinion on it is, unless it's going to damage the customer's property or unless your team's in danger, if it's like a hurricane or something, I just work in the rain because it makes it a lot quicker. It's a lot less rescheduling. You don't have to call the customers to try to figure everything out. So it just makes life a lot simpler. You can work later days after rain, which is kind of obvious, but like you can work till dark on the days after it rains and just go ahead and tell your team, hey, when it rains, we'll just have off that day. We might have to work an extra few hours each day to catch up. And then what I try to do is I try to leave Saturdays open. So if it rains Monday, Tuesday, you work a little bit later all the other days. And if you have a few extra Saturday that you need to catch up on, it's not that bad to go out and just mow on a Saturday. And everybody kind of understands that. Another thing that you can do is you can leave Wednesdays open. And you can say Wednesdays are going to be our project day, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is our project day. And you can take those project days and replace project days with mowing days and your recurring maintenance days whenever it rains. So that's another thing that we like to do, is just kind of take off our projects off those days and maybe even move the project to Saturday or move them a little later on the schedule if it rains and we couldn't predict it. The next thing on the list is going to be equipment breakdowns. Equipment breakdowns has been a nightmare for me and something that I really have stressed. We buy used trucks. We buy old used trucks. We have a 97 and a 96 Ram 1500. They break down a lot. So part of that is having a backup plan. Up till now, I've kind of paid people to fix it, paid people to work on it. What happens is, as they're working on it, the yards aren't getting done, everything's falling behind. So the best thing that we've found, and what we did this last time, go rent a U-Haul truck. It's like $50 a day. The U-Haul truck that we just rented, we rented 2 trucks. We rented a box truck and a Chevy 1500. We had a 2022 Chevy 1500 with a long bed. Amazing for working. Like, it kept you in the lane. It was really nice, but we didn't want to spoil our guys. Anyway, we've got a Chevy 1500 and then we got a box truck, and by using that box truck, that actually showed us that, hey, we want to continue to use box trucks from here on out, because The box trucks allow you to keep your equipment dry, and they allow you to store things on the inside. Plus, you already have a ramp to load push mowers and things in there. So I would suggest just renting a truck. It's like $50 a day if your truck breaks down. As far as equipment goes, find a dealer that has loaner equipment. Up to now, we haven't had a dealer that provides loaner equipment, and we just swapped over. And it's really nice just to have that security of, if something breaks down, you know that you have a replacement available until yours gets fixed. And so like for mowers, weed eaters, edgers, blowers, all that equipment, your dealer should have a loaner piece of equipment just while they work on yours, especially if they're a larger dealer. So that's something that really helps just kind of remove the stress around equipment and breakdowns. Next thing on the list that AI gave me was employee turnover. And so the 3 things that I wrote: keep extra help as a backup, call local day labor companies. So in town here, we have a company called New Hire Solutions. You can call them and say, hey, I need some labor for a day. I need some labor for a week. You can even hire them outright, and they'll get you some labor pretty quick. And so you just pay, I want to say it's about 30% of the labor, and then they'll pay all the taxes, they'll pay all the insurance, and they'll even do drug tests and all of that. So if you're paying someone and you only need help for a few days till you find someone long term, it works out really nice. And you can always use that to kind of vet out people and just hire them outright after the term is completed of them working with you through that company. The last thing on that list is to simplify services. You want to make sure it's easy to train new hires, because if you get someone new, you train them on hardscaping or something that's a very complicated service. If you take 2 years training them and then they quit, it's a nightmare. You're going to be really frustrated. I've had office people that I've trained, and it took 6 months to get them trained. By the time you get them trained, they quit. So it's just hard to train people and then they leave, unless you get them trained in a week or 2. You're okay if they leave. And so if you're hiring skilled labor, it's better to hire labor that is already skilled, in my opinion. So if you want a hardscaper, hire a hardscaper. Don't hire a lawnmower and then train him to be a hardscaper, just because it's going to be hard to train him, and chances are he's going to leave with that new knowledge because he's worth a lot more. And so, for instance, we had someone that worked at Zaxby's come in, start working for us. We trained him, got him working good, and he ended up staying. But he came to me and said, hey, you're paying me $11 an hour. I was making 10 at Zaxby's. After working for you, I'm worth $18 an hour now. I'm getting job offers, and it's really hard to compete with that because you train them to be more valuable than what they were, which is great for their careers. But it's really hard when they leave and you just become a trainer to push them along in their career, because they have to make money for you as well. The next thing is marketing and acquisition. So a rule of thumb that I heard, and I really like the saying, is make an offer so good that someone would feel stupid saying no. And so if you make an offer like that, then, for instance, our offer is $99 for a month. It includes mowing, edging, weed eating, blowing, picking up leaves, limbs, and pine cones, and debris. So I don't think anybody else for $20 or $25 a visit for half-acre property is going to go out there and be picking up pine cones and doing all these things. But we can do it a lot quicker because we have a big mower, we've got a bagger with a vacuum on it where we can suck up all the debris, and we can just knock it out pretty quick and effectively. And so just having a really good offer. Another thing that I started doing was I was paying $100, and I would set an ad for 10 days for $100. We would get maybe $50 per customer would be our acquisition cost. We started running 1-day ads. So we'll take that same $100 and spend it over the course of 1 day. What that does is it boosts it to so many more people that they just see the same ad over and over and over and over throughout the course of 1 day. In between that time, we started posting free ads. And so you can just make regular posts that aren't boosted. They're not promoted ads. Just post regular posts in between that time, and then boost one ad maybe a week, maybe one ad a month. And when you boost that, you can take and just pick your best post. So you say you have, the main thing in advertising is just putting in the reps. So if you make a post every day, which is what I try to do, make a post every single day. Out of those 30 posts, the one that got the most interaction, so you got all these posts and you can see some did differently, take the best post and then boost that for $100 to thousands of people. And then what that allows you to do is kind of test different posts for free. The best one is going to be your best return on investment, your best customer acquisition cost. So that solves AI's marketing and acquisition problem. Moving on to pricing and profits. An easy rule of thumb that I've tried to follow is your price is 33% for labor. So whenever you charge the customer, 33% of that, just know it's going to go to labor. 17% to overhead. So this is things like office, insurance, your software, QuickBooks, maybe accounting, things like that. And then say you're going to take another 30% to equipment and acquisitions. So 30% of it is going to go to acquiring the customer, 30% of it, is going to go to purchasing equipment, is going to go to repairing equipment, and all of those ancillary costs that are on the side to grow and scale the business that aren't necessarily overhead to just maintain. So that'll allow you to grow, and then you can keep a healthy 20% profit margin. Moving on to safety and legal. So one thing that I learned last summer is you can easily drown in overhead. I had an office person, I had like 1,000 different softwares. So I had something for everything, and everything was hundreds of dollars. So when you're paying, for instance, I had a lead company, Angie Leads, that I was paying, and I paid close to $3,000, didn't get a single customer, just paying out the nose for everything. And so you have to be very careful with the overhead, especially in safety and legal, because with safety and legal, it doesn't make you any money, it doesn't make you look any better to a customer other than like your main insurance, getting an LLC. So you want to make sure that you're protected. You want to make sure that your guys are protected. But past that, like paying for things that you like, I don't know. Do you really need 6 guns instead of 3? Probably not. Do you need caution tape that's going to sit in your shed forever? Probably not. And so just little stuff like that you don't necessarily need, I wouldn't waste the money on it. Don't hire a lawyer. What I would suggest doing instead, take 1 hour every night for 2 weeks. That'll be 14 hours over the course of 2 weeks, and just study all of the legal and all of the back end stuff for the business. What's going to happen is you're going to build up this knowledge, and you'll understand it even better than what the lawyer or the accountant or whoever you're asking would. And you don't have to pay that high cost because you can gain a lot of knowledge from YouTube. So what I did is I went and spoke to a lawyer, and luckily he didn't charge me anything. But whenever I went to go talk to him, I understood more about my business than what he did. And so I had an hour consult. It was going to be like $300 or $400. He ended up doing it for free for me just to help me out. But he didn't really know what an LLC was. He didn't understand any of that. And so by me understanding it beforehand, he wasn't as needed. And so it's good to try to understand it on your own and to study, and then just to have someone that you can ask questions to. And if y'all ever have questions, feel free to text me. My number is 229-977-3905. Text me any questions that you have, and I'd be happy to do my best to answer them. Lastly, there's cash flow management. So this is the last problem that AI and ChatGPT said sink lawn care businesses. So the way that we've kind of tried to fight against cash flow management is we started doing cards on file. If someone has an objection to card on file, our most common objection to card on file is either I don't have a card or I don't want to give you a card. And so obviously, if someone says that, either they're not going to pay or they want to pay by cash or check. So nobody wants to mail cash. What we started doing with our bank, we can take a picture of a check. So when they say, hey, I can't pay the deposit now, or check's in the mail, I say, email me a picture of the check, I'll deposit online for you. And so we can run all of that online. We can run their check number, we can run everything, so that we don't have that waiting period of the check's in the mail, because most of us know the check never shows up. And so the last thing is just to make sure that you have an emergency fund. That's one thing that I did last year, one of my biggest mistakes. I didn't build up just a little bit of fluff. I didn't have any money set aside. I was just going check to check. At one point, I was like $30,000 in debt with all the payroll and all the fees and everything that I owed, and I only had like $1,000. So just making sure that you have money set aside to pay everything is very, very important. You don't want to spend it before you make it, and you don't want to assume that people are going to pay you when they're supposed to, because anytime you bill a card, chances are, if you're billing $5,000 or $10,000 job, a lot of times it bounces because the world is very dishonest. And so you just want to make sure that you can float that till you actually get the money. But that's my 8 reasons of why ChatGPT, and like how I would contradict ChatGPT, and just my answers to their problems. And so let me know if it was helpful down in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.